Hank takes the road. Beyond the train door was a busy railway, and there was always engines pulling goods trains or passengers everywhere around the big site of Sodor. But it was a nice place too to see the sites that have already been built before. But there were some engines that think work is too hard for them, especially Proteus. This work is too hard. I don't want to work too hard all the time. Oh, stop being such a fusspot, Proteus, grumbled Duke. At least those youngsters like you need to get on. Oh, really? Grumbled Bertram. At least I don't grumble as much as Proteus. Well, he just needs to get his act together until Hank was about to talk when his driver finally turned on the turntable. About time too, said Hank, and he was off to collect his coaches. At last, Hank had just arrived at the station. He backed down gently to his coaches. The passengers came to admire Hank. Howdy, he went on. How you all doing today? She went on as the guard blew his whistle and Hank steamed out of the station. But as Hank went along the line, he could always go up hills, go through bridges and tunnels, and puff around the forest. Later, Hank had just came out of a tunnel, went through an old station, and he came to a stop to look at the whole forest. Hank loved puffing around the forest. It makes him feel like he could live at the forest someday. Went Hank peacefully. I know I like the forest, but why don't some engines like to think they would live here? He asked his driver. Some engines have different opinions, said his driver, like you do when you don't like pulling trucks sometimes, he said. They were about to depart when Hank's driver saw a van speeding past by them. Flip, he said. What kind of a driver could drive so fast like that? Probably an idiot, said Hank, and he puffed away. When Hank returned from his trip and his way home from the trip, he finally saw what happened. Arthur had just seen a van crash into a ditch, and the police was questioning the driver about his speed. Well, some driver must not have been very careful with that van, said Hank. I actually think it's not really funny, he laughed. That could be the same as an engine getting derailed, said Arthur, looking so serious. It's serious, you know, he said. Oh, really, said Hank. I wonder what it would be like if I drove on the road, he said. Instead of rails, I know people like to be free from pulling trucks or coaches, but like as if engines do, said Hank. I may be important, but I'm splendid. And he puffed away, leaving Arthur behind. Later that night, Hank had just come back from his other journey to the sheds when he decided to talk to the others about what it would be like to go on the road. Even a daft road vehicle would want to go on the road, he said, especially an engine daft as you, said Duke. Oh, really, said Hank, but all the same. Oh, really, said Hank, but all the same, I wonder what it would be like if I went on the road, he went on. Arthur didn't care. He had already told Bertram and Duke about what's happened. Even if you are daft about car crashes, it would still be the same as an engine, he went on. And with that, Hank kept on boasting until he went to sleep. The next day, Hank was on his way to collect his coaches again when he saw Boko resting at a siding. "Hello, Hank," said Boko. You feel cheerful today." "I am," said Hank. He wanted to ask Boko a question. "Boko," he went on, "as an engine, what would it be like if you were on the road?" Well, said Boko, "it might feel a bit different than going on rails," he said. "Then how would you like to give it a try?" said Hank. Oh, really?" said Proteus from behind. "You going on a road journey on engine wheels? Hank, you give me so much to laugh about," laughed Proteus. "Shut up, Proteus," said Hank. "I still hate you," he said. Anyways, do you want to give it a try or not?" said Hank. "I might actually have to say no to that one, Hank," said Boko. "See you later." "Goodbye for today," said Hank. "I'm off to collect my coaches," and he puffed away, leaving Boko speechless. Soon Hank came to the station again. He was coupled to his coaches again. And then the guard had blew his whistle and Hank puffed away. "This is even more exciting," he went on, but a few minutes later he then stopped boasting about going on the road. But then it happened. Arthur was puffing slowly with a truck full of clay, but there was too many leaks on the truck, so Arthur had to go faster instead of slower. Arthur went too fast as there was a big leak on the clay truck. The truck collapsed and clay laid everywhere, all over the truck, and the truck was in pieces, while Arthur had still not noticed. But in the meantime, Hank had to take a lot of more detours with the passengers, and it was getting late, and Hank did not like that at all. "Hurry up," he groaned. "Make up more steam." "I'm trying to, Hank," said his driver. "Be patient." But Hank wasn't patient. He was almost late, and it was getting dark. Hank did not like travelling in the dark, even when sometimes he has a lot of crashes with Proteus. He was too busy going too fast when he wasn't watching where he was going. He came off the rails and onto the road he went. "What the heck just happened here?" His driver and fireman came out to look. "Some idiot has left some mushy stuff on the track. I think it's cement." They telephoned for help, but they turned to Hank immediately. Sorry, said the driver. This cement somehow seems to be dry, so they'll not bring the breakdown train until tomorrow morning, which means you'll have to travel on the road tonight. Hank was furious. "This is an outrage," he went on. "Come on," said his driver. "Do you want to block the road tomorrow?" he said. But then Hank did as his driver told him. Night came, and the passengers had just helped Hank's driver and fireman push Hank onto the road. The passengers had to get on a bus and leave Hank's coaches behind. Slowly and steady, Hank's driver and fireman were ready to give Hank the safety of his road trip back to the sheds. Groaned Hank. He was worried. Moving on the road moving on the road was now not his favourite, since he was not on the tracks. He almost felt like that his wheels were about to collapse. But every time Hank had to go crazy, he had to accept it. But sometimes, when there were curves, his driver still and his fireman had to push him to every right direction. But it wasn't for long until Frank had just reached the station beside him. But it wasn't too long until Rusty arrived with the breakdown train. "My golly, are you brave, Hank?" said Rusty. "I am indeed," said Hank. "Now get me back on the rails, please." "You wish," said Rusty, and they carried on. When Hank was finally back on the rails, Rusty began to tease him. "Would you like a lift home? Stay here and don't move." "I can take myself home, thank you very much," said Hank, and he puffed away. When Hank crawled back into the engine shed, Arthur felt worried. "Hank," he said, I'm sorry I left that cement truck on your way. I didn't mean to." "It's all right," replied Hank. "It wasn't your fault." "Maybe next time," said Duke, you should enjoy your next road trip to the Thing Controller's house, and perhaps you might invite him to the Secret Tender Club." But Hank ignored him. Or, said Bertram, you might get him to have breakfast at the Secret Tender Club." "Shut up, you two!" shouted Hank, and with that, the four engines in the sheds went to sleep. But I really hope that Hank's boastful behaviour about going on the road was at an end.